All right, so let's create an approach to create kind of a visibility slider, something that'll allow us to do some form of replacement animation. So let's see here. I'm gonna have to create something first. Let me just grab this. Now this is, let's say you have geometry that you can't maybe do blend shapes with, or you want to create a stop motion effect. So it's a little bit different than say a blend shape perhaps. All right, so I'm gonna create just kind of like an eyeball type of shape, and is that really how I want to do it though? Just waking up still. So let's do this shape instead. So let's go 90 degrees. Give it some thickness. It doesn't have to, but that's fine. All right, I'm just going to create a couple of these eye shapes. And again, just maybe I want something a bit more cut out, a bit more stylized. So instead of doing a blend shape, what I might want to do is I'll just have 4 of these. So I might maybe do some completely different shapes here. So one's an eye, normal eye. So just normal eye. And then we've got maybe a upper lid. Or a blink, maybe. Let's just call it blink. And maybe a wide-eyed shape as well. Okay, just the 3 shapes. All right, now for the blink, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of just squashing it, because, you know, that could just be a blend shape. Let's say I have completely different geometry. So for that, let me see here. What's a good thing I could use? Maybe like a cylinder or something like that. Cool. All right, and then I'll just do a quick boolean. I'll have to rename this again, that's fine. And let me do this one here too. And again, I'll do a bit of a quick boolean here. That's way off. That's fine. Let's do that again. Something about like that. All right, so you know, nothing fancy. So let me just delete history on that. All right, so I got these three pieces of, and then the wide-eyed shape. Let me just grab it and make it a bit more wide-eyed. All right, so I got my three shapes. You know, every shape has a visibility, has a visibility attribute on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a slider that controls that. So let me go and do that next. So I'm going to create a circle. And I'm just going to throw it into a square. So I'm going to create another circle. And grab some verts on it. There we are. Cool. And I just need that circle to go, it's going to have 3 different locations. So 0 up here and then down here perhaps. So let me just go a little bit wider with that. And let me bring these both up here. There we are. So yeah, so this is just going to be able to go here and here. So three spots. So open, blink, and then there'll be a wide open essentially. So I'm going to parent that control to the square. There we are. And just group it to itself. And I'll just call this one the, so kind of like a global positioning. So left, we'll just call it the connect. This is the left control box. And left eye control. All right. I should probably just rotate this 90 degrees and then freeze trans on it. So 90 degrees, freeze trans, delete history and everything. Okay, there we go. So now I've got this circle that will move up 1 unit and down 1 unit. I probably also want to limit its movement. So to do that, I'm going to go into its transformation node. So this is on the eye control. And it's only going to be moving in, it looks like Y. So let me go to my limit information. So that's under the transformation node. Limit information, translate. And we're going to limit this to just positive 1 and -1. So basically, it can't go above or below those whole values. And because it can only go in one direction, I don't want it to be able to move away from the box. I'm just going to lock down everything except for that translate Y. So, and that's just on the controller. So let me just right click and lock and hide selected. So that way I just have this one controller left. All right, so let's zero that out. So I'm going to shift this over. There we go. And once you've got this positioned and set, you can shrink this down to whatever size you want. Because remember, this is still going to be proportionate. It's going to move along for the rise, so it still goes from 0 to 1. So just don't freeze transformations on the connect group, and you're good. So we're going to do some set-driven key work. So edit, set-driven key, and I'm going to load the driver. So the control is the driver, it does the driving. And then these 3 guys here, are going to be the driven. And I'm going to be controlling the visibility. So I'm going to start by just keying, I'll just key all of them at the same time. So, and then I think we can just offset the set-driven key information in the graph editor. So I'm going to key the default, always key the default first. And then we're going to go to our driver, and we're going to go to the maximum value, and we're going to key everything off. There we go. So I'm going to key that. Now, when we're keying, make sure you hit this key button here. This is independent of the timeline, so don't hit the S key. Again, that would be setting a real keyframe. This is a set, kind of like an expression. That way it is set or key an expression. So we do want to make sure we're just using this button. You can always key over an existing value as well, so don't worry about making a mistake. Just make sure that your minimum and maximum values are whole values, so you don't end up with fractional values because it's difficult to remember where those are. You can always erase, delete the set-driven key information. It's got the blue check, and start over again if you need to. And I'm just going to hide this again. So I went to -1, and I'm just going to hide all 3 of them again. So this approach might be faster if you have more than, say, 3 shapes, because what I'm going to do next is with those 3 objects selected, I'm going to go into the graph editor, which I have an icon for right here. And so we have all three of these. So basically this represents what we've got. We've got visibility 0 at -1 and 0 at 1. And then my sliders at 1, it's going to be on, visible. So basically my normal eye this is what I want my normal eye to look like. But my other eyes, I don't. The other eyes, what I want to do is I want to shift this over. So with my wide eye, I want that to take place a little bit more this way. So I'm going to select that curve. I'm just going to shift it over one. So I'm using my shift key just so I can just pop it straight across. So now this wide eye shape is invisible at frame 1, but it gets activated when the slider goes to 1. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the blink. So I'm just going to select the curve. I'm going to shift it this way. So again, at 0, when the slider's at 0, the blink will be invisible. But when the slider goes to -1, it's going to be on. Now, let me see here. I think I might have made a mistake. Nope, I did it right. I did it right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so it's that easy, really. I was overthinking it there for a second. I think I need another cup of coffee. So in the end, basically, we have sliders that look like this. So basically, 0 to 1 is the... So when this is at 0, my normal shape is visible, right? So it's visible, visibility is on. And when it's at -1, it's off, and when it's at +1, it's off for this normal shape. When I go to +1, this is now turned on, visibility is on, but see, as you can see, it's off at 0, so when the slider's in a default position, and is also off at 2. So at 2, here's the values here. And then with the negative, if I were to select it, we can see that it's visible when it's at -1. If you're not sure what's what, if you select this, the actual keys, you can also numerically change it here. So at -1, so the slider's at -1, the visibility is on, which is a value of 1. So this is the driver, and this is the driven attribute here. All right, well, that was easy. And then if I wanted to have 2 eyes, if I wanted to have 2 of these, I could just take both of these and group them. So just group it all together and just call it eye setup. Duplicate special, so edit. Oh, you know what? I should probably move this over though. So I've got that all under a group. Let me just take that group and shift it. There we go. So that when I make my second one, I won't have a Cyclops. So again, we're going to go to edit, duplicate special, and just make sure duplicate input graph is on. We can go into here and do a search and replace name. So I'm going to search for L and replace with R. Get rid of that 1 at the end. And I can just scale that over. And we've got this under a group here. So there's the connect group there. So just move this over. So we got a left and right. Now, one thing I didn't do yet, these boxes here, these 2 boxes, we're probably going to want to go into the shape node. Under object display, we're going to turn on template. That way they're visible, it's just that they're not selectable. So again, that's under the shape node. You don't want to do it under the parent node, otherwise it'll make the circle templated as well. So there we go. And then we can do asymmetrical an asymmetrical blink as well. By just offsetting our keys in the dope sheet. Cool. There we go. And it's that easy. You know, the more shapes you have, the smoother the animation is, but it's also a little bit more setup as well. So hopefully that's helpful. I kept it short enough. I think that's all you really need to know. So I'll end it there.